Welcome to Hot Flashbacks, where we boldly navigate the ups and downs and unexpected detours of our 30s and 40s while finally recalling how clueless we were in our 20s. I'm Molly Ward, your captain through this midlife roller coaster. Stick around for laughs, life lessons, and maybe a few I can't believe I survived that stories. Follow our journey on Instagram and Facebook at Hot Flashbacks. Make sure to like, follow, and share so I can keep making these episodes. Let's dive in.
I also was the only child. So it was me, my mom, and dad. And my dad would watch a little bit of football, but then my mom wasn't much of a football watcher. So we didn't really watch a lot of football. So I didn't really grow up watching it. And then, I don't know, maybe, and this probably has nothing to do with testosterone, but recently, like last year or so, I got put on just a very small dose of testosterone. And man, I am all about football now. And I don't know if it has anything to do with it.
I need that. I need some of that for my house because I'm the only one who watches football and I'm tired of watching football alone. So if you can give me some of that testosterone, I can get it into my kids, yogurt or something. And then maybe we can all watch football. Welcome to Hot Flashbacks. I'm your host, Molly Ward, back for another episode about old people. That doesn't sound, should I do that again? Okay. Back for another episode about aging with grace. That's better, right? I think people feel better about that. I am so excited to be back. It's been a couple of weeks. Things have been busy. I've had a lot going on and I wasn't able to release an episode, but never fear. I'm back and I'm here with my friend, Deb. That's your cue.
Hi.
There you go. Hi, my name's Deb. You're so serious. That was kind of like that had like a kind of sex operator voice. Do they still have that? Like where you could call a number and like talk to someone?
I don't know. I'm
looking into this. I need to know. Deb, thanks for being here. I'm so excited to talk to you and see your face and talk about the weird things that you have hanging up in your house like we just did. But let's talk about how we know each other and how old you are. That's the really important thing. So give us the rundown. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm 51. I've been married for 26 years. I think it'll be this June. Not normally from Utah. I'm originally from Oklahoma. You and I met through roller derby. And that's basically it in a nutshell.
And you just celebrated a birthday, right?
Yes. January 22nd was my 51st.
Woohoo. Was it exciting? Was it?
Woohoo. Yeah. I mean, it was fun. My husband is so good at planning things.
Yeah.
That I don't really have to worry about much. So he planned us going to Idaho, have a birthday, have some dinner, go to a hot springs and come back and then, have dinner and stuff with the kids. And it was really nice.
That sounds nice. Tell me about your kids. You got two.
Got two. I have a 24-year-old that has a learning disability. So he's got mild autism and then a cognitive disability. So puts him about physically, he'll be 25 tomorrow. So physically 26, but cognitively anywhere from 8 to 12 years old, kind of depends on the task. Then I have a 12-year-old daughter. She's typical. So, that's the two kids.
Exciting. I love them both. They're both wonderful humans. I mean, you are too, but we're talking about them.
Thank you.
I also love you, Deb. So 51, I feel like, let's just talk about 50 for a second. Cause this is like living in the back of my mind, being 50. It's just like, it's looming there rent free. And I want to know how you felt when you turned 50. Like what is it like?
Oh, it's kind of hard to describe it, even though it was just a year ago. It's more, I guess, just everything with playing roller derby. And I had just started working at a horse boarding facility. And I think that kind of really helped me out stay in shape. I don't feel like I'm 50, at the time, or I don't feel like I'm 51 either. So it's kind of, I don't really know how to describe it. I guess, I don't know. It's hard to describe because I don't feel, because I look back at my parents, I'm like, what my parents 50. Okay, I was this age. They were this. Wow. I just, I feel different, but it's also different times when my parents.
So you say you don't feel as old as you are. Is that like both physically and like emotionally? Like is it hard to like kind of process that you're actually that age? Like it doesn't feel like you've lived that many years? Cause that's how I feel sometimes.
Yeah, I would say probably that. I don't feel like I'm 51. I still feel like I'm around, 30, 35. And when somebody's like, hey, how old are you or whatever, or if I say I'm 51, they're like, no, you're not 50. I'm like, no, I am. I know it's depressing. I am 51, but I really physically don't. Well, I can't say that. I started to get arthritis in my fingers and playing roller derby is rough on the body, but
yeah, I know it's wild. Even like 10 years ago, I would have said 50 sounds really old. And now, I mean, I'm 43. It's still a while, but like, it doesn't sound as old as it used to. I mean, I'm like, oh, I could be 50, right. I guess. And hopefully I'm not going to feel like as old as I like imagined 50 would be, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
Aging is wild, I tell you.
It is.
Thanks for taking time to chat with me today. And you and I kind of talked a little bit about what we wanted to talk about and what you sort of felt comfortable sharing and talking about in terms of aging and things that you've been through and sort of how you're handling and not just handling, but embracing, I think, aging, as you said, not really feeling 51. And so the conversation was sort of around rediscovering yourself, right? Like your passions, your hobbies. I'm interested to see how this plays a role as well, because your son has recently moved out. And so sometimes when parents go through kids leaving, they start to have more time for themselves or more time to figure out who they are and do the things that they want to do, because maybe it's not the same as it was when you had him. And so I'm just curious a little bit about that. But first and foremost, what have you done in the past couple of years in terms of sort of exploring new things, doing things differently than you have been, and finding new hobbies or interests? And how has that affected you? Like, how has that helped you?
My husband's really good at planning, and we've really been getting out more and going camping and just being out in nature and away from the news and just away from drama and just everybody's problems. So it's been nice to get out. And I've always my daughter was about 3 when I started hiking. So I kind of started getting outside and being active then. And then I got like my real estate license, and that took a while to, took time away from hiking, but I'm not doing that anymore. So back to say, I think that's like been the biggest thing is probably just getting out as a family. We do take Andrew with us, but not all the time, because he also has some incontinence issues. So he wears pull-ups, and it's a little bit harder to deal with those things when you go camping and you don't have a shower and you don't have a way to wash things if such and such leaks and whatever. But he does go with us. But for the most part, I would say camping has probably been the biggest thing. Just get us back together, I guess you could say.
Is connecting with nature and sort of being outside helped you to feel, I don't want to be cliche, but like more alive or like more in touch with yourself and your place in this world? Because I think sometimes when we go outside and we spend time outside and really like take it in, not just like walk the dog, but like really take it in, I notice that I feel small. And that, I mean, I am only 5'2", recognize, but my place in the world feels small, which then can sometimes lead to me feeling like everything is not so big as I may make it. So turning 50 or, having something go wrong with your family or at home, and it feels really big. And then I feel like when I spend time outside and I really like take it in, I recognize how small I am and how in some ways insignificant I am, which I'm not saying is like a bad thing, more like it's maybe not that big of a deal that I'm making these things out to be.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I did a hike once that was kind of very impromptu, and I think it was 10 hours, and it ended up starting in Ogden. I'm not sure if you know where Buse Canyon is.
I do, but I just want to, you had an impromptu 10-hour hike? That's I can't fathom. I mean, I would have to train for 6 months to have a 10-hour hike, Deb. How does this just happen?
Well, I originally I was just going to it was just a bad decision, but I ended up making it. Snow Basin was closed because of an archery event. So yeah, I was up there, there was decoys everywhere. So I did run across the mountain lion decoy, and it wasn't a real mountain lion.
I would have shit in my pants. It's like, did you poop your pants right then? Because I
was far enough away that I'm like, it's not moving, but I'm going that way because I don't have time to go back the other way. And so I was clapping and yelling and screaming and making noises just to get this thing to run away. And the closer I got, the more it didn't move. And I was like, this is really weird. And then once I got closer, I'm like, oh, that's weird. It's a decoy. Okay. And then I came across a moose decoy and a boar and elk and all these other ones. And then I came across a hunter that said Snow Base was closed. So I was like, oh, okay. Well, that explains why there's nobody else on this mountain. But the reason I was saying that is when I look at where I was, I went over where Snow Basin's towers are, and I ended up down at the parking lot. That's where I had Ryan pick me up. But I look at where I was and I'm like, wow, I was right there in that little tiny spot. You couldn't see me, from there. But when you look at it and how massive the mountain, I conquered it. I went over, granted, I think it was 12 crackers and 2 ounces of peanut butter, but it was a good hike. But I feel that way when I'm out and I'm hiking in nature, or even just go camping, and you see these massive trees, you're just like, you can't help but just take it in and feel small.
Yeah. And sometimes like feeling small in the best way, like not recognizing that like you're not important or you don't have impact, but recognizing that sometimes the things that we make really big or really important in life, like whatever these wrinkles are on my forehead, which I stress about. I think I get these wrinkles from stressing, ironically enough. And they seem like a big deal to me. But then I go outside and spend time in nature and think, oh, I guess my wrinkles aren't that big of a deal. But then I come home and I'm still stressed about the wrinkles. So I don't know if it's working. I think what the answer to that is to stop looking in the mirror, which is, something I've highly considered doing. I'm like, oh, I have wrinkles? I didn't know. I haven't looked in the mirror.
Just take down the mirrors in the house.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I just want to say that earlier you said that it was a bad decision. It was an ill-informed decision to take that 10-hour hike. And my bad and ill-informed decisions look a lot different than yours. Because if the worst thing I did was accidentally take a 10-hour hike, I'd be really proud of myself. My bad decisions look different. like maybe I shouldn't have had 2 cheeseburgers, just one would have sufficed, but alas. Can you recall, like, when you look back, when you were raising your son and when you were in your 20s or 30s, did you imagine or picture what life would be like for you now? And is it the same or different?
Oh, it's much better.
Yeah.
Me and my husband, it was kind of rough with most people. You're 2 individuals, you get together, and now you've got to figure out how to make it all work. We were stationed in Japan when my son was born. And it was just, we grew up differently. He was without me for 6 months before I got to Japan. Then I finally got to Japan, and then it was like, okay, now we've got to, try to do this marriage thing. And we did, we stayed together, and there was times where we almost didn't stay together, and all somebody had to do was sign a line and it was done. It was over, but here we are. But we are doing a lot. I don't know. This is probably the happiest I've ever been.
Aw, that's so great. I say that because I really do, like, in my mind, even now at my age, sometimes fear that being older is going to be worse. But a lot of people feel like getting older is better. Like you feel better and that life is good. And because I don't think I thought that at 20. I wasn't like, oh, being 24 is so awesome. Life is so good and I'm so free and this is so fun and I'm so good at life. I don't think you feel that when you're younger. So I'm excited that at some point I'm going to feel like I'm doing this whole life thing the right way.
Yeah. And I think too with Andrew was was probably a big stress in our marriage just because of having a learning disability and trying to deal with behavior problems that we just, we tried this medication, it didn't work. We tried that medication, it didn't work. And, and now I think that what he mostly probably needed as he got older, now that he's 25, is I think what he needed to be on his own. But, he's still in a safe home that is also has staff, to be there, to make sure he gets up for his day program and he gets fed and he takes a shower and things like that. And those were the things that were hard for us, was to be like, get in the shower. I don't want to. Well, you don't have a choice. Get in the damn shower. Now somebody else deals with it, not us.
Exactly. If you have a son of any age, you're familiar with that argument. Take a shower. Oh, I took a shower like 3 days ago. Yeah, I know. Get in the shower now. Why? I'm not going to go anywhere. Take a shower because you stink. No, I don't. Oh my God, I'm not talking about this anymore. Get in the shower for the love of the rest of us. Seriously. God, boys smell bad. So what have you done to sort of embrace spontaneity and finding your passions and kind of trying to reignite? I mean, I know you mentioned like that things weren't always easy between you and your husband, but now things are really good. And when I say finding your passion, I don't want you to tell me about that weird sex thing you have hanging above your closet right there. But what is like, what have you done for yourself? Because I think as we age, and as you mentioned, having one kid out of the house and another one, I think you still have a little while to go, right?
With Lily, yeah, she just turned 13 in December, so we do have some time.
So you have a little time. But what have you done to take care of yourself and to really embrace spontaneity or adventure?
I would say when Derby came into play, that was one of those things that I was like, oh, I can't do it. Andrew has mountain bike practice. Wasn't really going to work out. And then I kind of hit a point where I'm like, screw it. Ryan can take him to mountain bike practice. I've never done a sport before, but I've liked skating. So I'm like, why not? Let's try this sport. And so I tried it and, I loved it and been doing it since 2018, I think. And I really think the spontaneity is kind of like just not really having to worry about having to find a babysitter for my adult son that I can't leave at home, and now I can leave my 13-year-old at home by herself because I can be like, okay, get in the shower at 7, be in bed by 8. We'll be home whenever we get home. Love you.
It's given you a little bit of freedom.
Yes. I think the biggest thing is freedom and being, just happier, just being happier and not being so grumpy. And, you look at somebody that maybe at one time you weren't happy with in marriage and you're just like, oh, Lord, gotta be better. It's gotta be different. But then now you're at a point where you're like, all right, he's not so bad. I'll keep him around.
Yeah. As I get older, I feel I want to be more adventurous and spontaneous, but I also have this fear of injury that I think, really kind of keeps me from doing some things. And the fear of injury is more like if I, broke my ankle at 25 or 30, I feel like it would heal in a reasonable amount of time and nobody would be, wildly affected by me not being able to walk for a few weeks. And now I feel like so many people are dependent on me and my ability to just help and do the things I'm supposed to do in my life and do my job and all those things. And also that it would take like twice as long to heal from something like that. And I think sometimes that actually keeps me from doing things because I'm like, I don't really want to break a leg right now. Like I have a lot going on and I have a lot I'm responsible for. How do you get over that kind of fear of what might be just an injury to a 30-year-old could be kind of a bigger deal for someone who's 50 or 55? You don't ever get scared like that you're going to just hurt yourself bad and not be able to do the things that you want to do for a period of time?
I would have to say no. I mean, kind of in the beginning, I was like, oh gosh, am I going to have to give up something? Because I don't want to get hurt. I can't work. And then I don't want to get hurt at work. And then I can't play derby. So I've just kind of found, even at work, there's not really any way for me to get hurt. Yes, I could get kicked by a horse, but I know these horses and I've worked around them long enough to know which ones might get a little shitty and, whatever. So
I'll tell you who's not getting kicked by a horse. It's me. So there's, something I don't have to think about being afraid of. So that's good. I imagine getting kicked by a horse would really suck. So I'm not putting that on my bucket list. Oh, speaking of bucket list, do you have a bucket list?
I would say my bucket list really consists of going to certain places that I've just had in my brain. They just look beautiful, that I just want to go to. When Andrew was little and they needed to do testing, they actually sent us from Japan to Hawaii, just me and him. So I kind of knocked that off of my list. And I would say like Greece. I want to go to Greece. I'd love to go to Scotland, Ireland, any place that really has castles. I like older historical stuff. I'd love to go to Italy and see all the ruins.
So your bucket list is mostly travel.
Yeah, I would say it's mostly travel. I mean, if I could say, hey, I want to own my own ranch, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that happening. When I was younger, I wanted to work with horses, but with people with disability with horses, So, and right now it's not that. It's just,
well, that's half, Deb. That's half of the thing on the bucket list. So that's pretty good. Working with horses with children with disabilities. Yeah. And so you're doing half of it. There's still time.
Right. Right.
I read this article the other day. I was talking about how, by the time you hit 40 or 45, you've lived like half your life. And I think I wanted to feel good about that. Like I wanted to be like, yeah, I still have halfway to go. But then I was like, oh my God, I still have halfway to go. Am I going to make it? It seems so long. Like, I don't know if I could do this again. Do you think the second half is going to be better than the first?
I'm hoping. I'm hoping it's going to be better. I think just as long as, just takes after me instead of Ryan, maybe, she'll be on the right focus of stuff. And even Ryan said that too. He's like, good thing she takes after you on certain things. And I'm glad she takes after him on certain things. I'm not very competitive as far as like football and, stuff like I like football now, but before I'm just like, football sucks. But
don't ever say that again on this show, that football sucks. I want you to take that back. I'm deeply offended.
I'm going to be honest with you. I never really liked it. I never have liked it, even growing up. And I honestly think it's because I also was the only child. So it was me, my mom, and dad. And my dad would watch a little bit of football, but then my mom wasn't much of a football watcher. So we didn't really watch a lot of football. So I didn't really grow up watching it. And then, I don't know, maybe, and this probably has nothing to do with testosterone, but recently, like last year or so, I got put on just a very small dose of testosterone. And man, I am all about some football now. I don't know if it has anything to do with it.
I need that. I need some of that for my house because I'm the only one who watches football and I'm tired of watching football alone. So if you can give me some of that testosterone, I can get it into my kids, yogurt or something. And then maybe we can all watch football. It would be nice. That's hilarious.
Very small amount.
So
0.06.
was that like a menopause thing?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm like the last time I went to the doctor, he didn't say anything about like being premenopausal, but I've had some things going on, that I feel like I am, but I also haven't been tested. I guess they can test you now, like before and say, oh yeah, you're in it. It was just, I'm tired all the time, just didn't really have much of a libido. And, so he's like, okay, well, it's not off by much. And women are supposed to have, some. So let's just try out at this amount. And that's what we started at. And
yeah. So you had low T.
Yeah. Low T.
Low T commercials. I crack myself up. But, declining levels of testosterone are part of menopause. Testosterone does decline with age, so it declines in men as well, obviously, hence the low T commercials that you probably are going to see during the Super Bowl. But it does for women too. And so it's possible that, as you're going through these stages in your life, having low testosterone can really impact your energy level and make you feel tired. But testosterone actually is really good for maintaining your musculoskeletal health as well. So your bone density and your muscle mass. And so without it, you might notice, like your bones aren't as strong, and your muscle mass isn't the way it used to be. Like for me, I have a 6-pack, and so I'm never going to notice that. But for people who don't have a 6-pack, I guess they'll notice. You're laughing like hysterically after I said I have a 6-pack. I don't know why that's so funny. Please tell the listeners why that's hilarious.
I truly, I believe you.
Yeah. Okay.
I was laughing about something else.
Sure. Really glad that we don't have video on this podcast, or else you'd probably tell me to prove it, and everybody would see that I, in fact, do not have a 6-pack. Not really a life goal of mine, though, having a 6-pack. I don't know, like, as a woman, I guess I just don't really, like, do you think, like, we would be better friends if I had one? Would you be like, Fire's so cool. Look at her 6-pack. No. See, exactly. Yeah. So it's fine. I don't need one of those. But testosterone levels and menopause or premenopause is a real thing. So maybe, just you could just go to the doctor and have them check, and then you can like figure out all the levels of things. But I think women underestimate how important testosterone is, because we think of it as primarily a male hormone, but it's not. So, but too much of it and you'll get acne and facial hair. So try to find that like sweet spot where like you have energy and a sex drive, but do not have a beard, right? That's what I think we're all going for.
Right. Just flip me over so you don't see the beard. It's fine.
You didn't just say that. You did. It's just like...
You'll have to take that out, I guess.
It's fine. I'm awake. I have energy and I have a sex drive. Ignore the beard. You can't have it all. It's not possible.
Or you can braid it. I don't care.
Oh, Ryan's a lucky man. God. Oh man. We've like talking about finding your passions and kind of like reigniting things. I am really like, I'm on that. I am like on that vibe right now in my life. I've kind of like decided that I've ignored the things I want to do, or even little things. Not like, it doesn't have to be like a big thing. Like I want to skydive and, or travel the world with a backpack or whatever it is people do. But even just little things, I feel like I'm making them a priority now, in ways that before I was like, I don't have the time because I have to take care of all of these people or take care of all of these things. And I still have to do that. But I think something about having, like you mentioned, sort of having kids that are old enough to start doing some things on their own, and thinking like, wow, I have some time and I could do something that I want to do, or I could spend some time, working on a hobby that I want to have. And I'm really like, I'm living my best hobby life right now. Random. Like sometimes I'm just like, I'm going to just do that. I'm going to try that and learn a new skill. And that's always been something that I've enjoyed. I think is the ADD in me is always like, ooh, let me learn about that and obsess about it and buy all of the things so that I can do that for 4 months and then quit. So, but still, I've made it like more of a priority to, pursue my passions, to learn new things and to make time for myself and doing new stuff. Besides Derby, how do you sort of fill that bucket for yourself, filling your own cup with things that you want to do, that you now sort of have the time and space, and now that you're on the testosterone, the energy to do?
I would say like horses have always been a passion. So my deepest passion is going to be horses. Been since I was 10 years old. So had a horse when I was little and grew up with horses. And when I joined the military, she just became part of my mom and dad's family, So I've just always.
She is the horse.
Say what?
You said she became part of the family, and I'm assuming by she you meant the horse.
Oh, my horse.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. The
Same
horse,
page now.
like, I left the house. yeah, I left the house. So my parents weren't going to sell her. She was part of the family, and we had her for 20, I think 23 years, and she just passed away in 2005. So, and then I got another horse later in life, but then my daughter was born, didn't really have the time for the horse because I had a new baby. So, couldn't get rid of the daughter. So I got rid of the horse.
You just list both of them on Facebook Marketplace and see which one you can get the most money for. It's like, well, I don't know. I don't really have time for the horse. I don't really have time for the kid. I'll just put them both online and see what kind of deal I can get.
Right. Yeah. So I ended up selling her, and she's in a good place now. She's up in Montana, but of course, I still want to get horses again, which we're looking into, but we're also looking into my mom and dad moving up here, and we have an acre. So we're going to probably try to put something on our lot, which takes away from horses, property for a horse. So it kind of depends on how much space they're going to take up in my pasture and how much space we're going to have left over to have horses. And
I can't help but think about
my beard. That's why.
Stop. This has gone too far. You said something about how much space they're going to take up in the pasture. Did you met your parents? Because what's the phrase? Sending them out to pasture? That's a phrase that they use when they talk about
we're going to send them to the pasture.
Yeah, so I'm just thinking just build a barn and then you'll have room for your horses and your parents. You could just put your parents out to pasture. The people do that, I think.
I know. Well, my dad does woodworking, so he wants to build a shop. And then Ryan would like something that he could work on cars, and then of course some living space. So we're looking at something that's a 40 by 60, and so that's huge.
Yeah, but I mean, you could fit a lot of parents and horses in a space that big. So I think
at least 3. That's what I'm coded to get is 3.
Oh, okay. And taking care of your parents do you only get 3 of those too? Is there some sort of code about how many parents you can take care of at your house? No,
just 2.
Just 2. Oh man, I'm digressing again. So question. How are you balancing your need for adventure and spontaneity and trying new things with, the reality that you have adult responsibilities and things that you have to take care of? How are you balancing those things so that you're getting, enough adventure and spontaneity and excitement and new things, and also taking care of the shit that you just have to take care of as an adult?
I think for me, it's mostly just very routine. It's work during the week. Ryan always makes really the plans for going camping and things like that. So he's the one who's probably better at doing this spontaneity kind of thing. Lily's very self-sufficient, and Andrew's in such a good position right now that, we can kind of just decide in a weekend, hey, we want to run up to Montana for some reason. We're like, okay, I'm more ugh. Okay, well, that's going to cost this much. And then we've got your family reunion and we've got this, but then I'm like, okay, Debbie, come on. Let's just, you only live once. So let's just, we have the money, we have the excess, or, we'll use taxes. It's just kind of you just have to maybe just bite the bullet and do it. Just realize you just need to do it. I just need to get away, or I need to go for a hike, or.
Yeah. I actually had a conversation with someone recently about this, and what you said sort of struck me. And that is that life is short, right? And a lot of people say this in a way to allow for spontaneity or adventure or trying new things. And then there's kind of this mantra also of no one's going to advocate for you. You need to live your best life. You need to be your authentic self. You need to explore those things and do all that. But then there's also this at least for me, there's this rhetoric of selfishness. We're saying do your best, live your best life. If you're not happy, find your happy and do the, but then if you do those things, I think there's a really fine line of you're being selfish. Like, because what if you're happy is like taking your family and moving out to the woods and everybody's upset about it because nobody wants to live in the woods but you, and you're making all of them do that because that's what you need to feel fulfilled and happy. But that makes you look selfish. I struggle with the balance of how to do those things, how to figure out what I need and want and take care of those things and know that life is short and I want to be happy. But you also can't do that at the expense of other people. It's complicated.
Yes. I would say that's like pretty spot on, because there's times just, we're like, we could go back to Oklahoma where it is cheaper and my parents don't have to move up here. We could move closer to them. Ryan's got, his disability rating and he's got retired military pay. We could probably be just totally fine and I could get a job. But then I'm like, what about Andrew? Would we take Andrew with us? Would we leave him in Utah? Would we find the best facility that we do love now? We find something like that in Oklahoma or Montana or, somewhere else we decided to move to. And do I really want to uproot Lily from her school that she loves? And that's what she's known since since she's been born. So I totally get what you're saying is I feel like that would be selfish if I'm like, nope, we're going to move back to Oklahoma.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to find that balance of how I can live my best life and be happy and fulfilled and do the things that I want to do while also not coming across as a selfish jerk who just does whatever they want at the expense of other people. And not all those things, like, I recognize that it's not always just like that like the one thing I want to do is going to come across as selfish and at the expense of someone else. But I do think sometimes these things are, as an example, and I'm just going to like make this up, but you're 51 years old, like you are. Woo! Okay. And you want to, like, let's say, to live your best life and to really feel fulfilled and good and happy in your marriage and with your family, that you want to like live in a van. You don't want to do house stuff anymore. Like, you've turned over this leaf, right? And you want to do one of these like tiny homes on wheels situations, and your family does not, and your husband does not. Then like you're stuck in this place of like, how do I take care of my needs and do the thing while also not looking selfish? Because if you just called me and you're like, Molly, I'm leaving my husband and my daughter because I really need to live in a van. Like, this is what I really need to do to feel good. I cannot handle a house anymore or the responsibilities, and they won't come with me. So I'm going. You would look, I feel like most people would be like, that's really selfish, Deb. But at the same time, society's telling me a lot that I should be living my best life, that life is short and I need to do what makes me happy. I feel stressed. This is a whole episode, I feel like. Do you feel that pull?
Yeah, I do. Because, if things had been completely different, like I said, been into horses since I was 12, and we've done, I think it was for our anniversary, we went to Montana. Ryan had went on horseback trail rides. It was absolutely amazing. And they called them the Wrangler. So the Wrangler that was in charge of us, us following her, and that's her job. And I was like, oh my God, why did I not know about this when I was growing up? But had I went that path, my life would be completely different right now. I wouldn't have met Ryan. I wouldn't have joined the military. I wouldn't have had Lily. I wouldn't have had Andrew, all of these things. Now, I think though, if I were to tell Ryan right now, let's sell absolutely everything and we'll homeschool Lily or something, he probably would say, okay, let's do it. Because just to feel that freedom, because, right now with everything going on, you feel like you can't even, shit without somebody going, well, you're doing that wrong. Don't do it that way,
Well, listen, if you don't want to be told how to go to the bathroom, you shouldn't get married. Because when you get married, you're going to learn that you don't do anything right. I mean, I thought I knew how to put chapstick on, and evidently I don't. And I got married, and now I realize I've been putting chapstick on wrong. I've been told. So, if you don't want to be told how to go to the bathroom the right way, then don't get married. That's my advice. I mean, I know it's too late. I know that advice is too late
right.
for you, but
I think we're past.
You're past that. You've learned how to drop a deuce properly and meet everyone's standards. I'm just so proud of you.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing some of these things. And honestly, like when I talk to people who are older than me and they tell me that life is good, that makes me feel really good, because I think in my mind, it's not going to be like, I have this kind of fear. Truthfully, like, I don't want to say a fear of aging, but kind of, like that it's scary and that it's going to be hard and that I'm going to be worse off. And while some things may be hard or different or worse, what I hear from most people is that other things are so much better. And so I feel good about that. I feel like you've given me hope. We're going to call this episode There is Hope.
Yes.
There's hope at 50.
Hope is not lost.
Hope is not lost at 51. I appreciate your perspective. Thank you so much for being here. This is Hot Flashbacks. We're out. Want more? We're on all the major podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. Just search for Hot Flashbacks and subscribe.